Hi, I'm Bob Keiser, Vice President with Global Markets Intelligence at S&P Capital IQ. Thanks for previewing this week's edition of the Lookout Report. 96% of S&P 500 companies have now reported second quarter earnings, and as we wrap up earnings season, a few thoughts come to mind. First off, while second quarter earnings growth of 4.8% is clearly stronger than consensus expectations of 2.9% from the start of earnings season, this result nonetheless remains shy of the 5 to 6% earnings growth that we'd envisioned. 5 to 6% earnings growth would have been in line with the historical tendency where corporations beat expectations by about 3% during periods of relatively healthy economic growth. Above consensus expected earnings growth aside, the bigger story associated with earnings season appears to be the negative top-line revenue growth reported in the second quarter according to S&P Capital IQ aggregate data. S&P 500 revenue growth declined by 0.6% versus the year-ago quarter, resulting in the first quarter of negative revenue growth since the third quarter of 2009 as the U.S. economy was just emerging from recession. Global Markets Intelligence Research believes this is significant because the prior two episodes of negative revenue growth are associated with periods of U.S. economic recession occurring in 2008 and 2001. For the moment, the current occurrence of negative revenue growth appears to be associated with recession in Europe rather than the U.S. We believe this makes perfect sense within the context of a global economic slowdown led by recession in Europe, since nearly half of S&P 500 revenues come from non-U.S. sources. The good news is that Eurozone GDP has just turned positive in the second quarter for the first time since the third quarter of 2011, and global purchasing managers' indices are starting to signal growth at mid-year 2013. An upswing in global economic activity certainly reinforces consensus expectations for 4% S&P 500 revenue growth in the second half of this year, leading to perhaps double-digit earnings growth at year-end. For more thoughts on this subject, in addition to other insightful cross-market observations from McGraw-Hill financial thought leaders, check out this week's Lookout Report titled, "The U.S. and Global Economy Needs to Pick Up Steam in the Second Half of 2013." Until next time, I'm Bob Keiser with S&P Capital IQ.